All right, you guys, how's everybody doing? Fully into July now, which means training camp now just days away as we sit here. Enjoying just yet another beautiful West Virginia day where I have seen sprinkling rain. I've seen beautiful sunshine. I got caught in a torrential downpour driving Christine to work, was hydroplaning all over the place. Could barely drive in it, and now it is absolutely sunny again as I look forward to heading back to the Pacific Northwest in just a few days. Here's what I have in store for you tonight. Took the weekend off, just thought it'd be a good time to check back in with you guys and talk about a few things, and something caught my interest today as well. So I'm a few days late on this, but Eric Edholm from NFL.com did a really cool research piece last week breaking down all the best draft values at every position. In the 2000s, he ranked the top 5 draft values at every position in the 2000s. 4 Seahawks on the list, one of the best representations in the league of any team, but I think that they missed somebody. I'm going to dive into that a little bit, pull up some numbers, and see if I'm right. I think another Seahawk got snubbed, and maybe the list should have included 5. Then I will update you on my plans for covering training camp, when that's going to start, what goes into it. Some, in case you missed some things earlier today that were posted in a couple different areas, some updates on just ways I'm going to get the information out and some different membership updates. I think some really exciting news on that front. And then take your questions, anything you have on your mind that you want to dump before training camp arrives. And then I got an opportunity to see the new F1 movie yesterday. I know we talked last month about best, I did my top 5 all-time sports movies. There was a lot of buzz and a lot of hype about this movie. Some people saying it's already in their top 5 after 1 or 2 viewings. Got a chance to see it last night. Thought I would talk about that and get your views on that as well. I'm Dan. This is Seahawks Forever. Let's start.
Welcome to the Seahawks Forever podcast. In-depth analysis on everything Seahawks. And now, here's your host, Dan Viens.
And just a heads up, you guys. Whoops, let's switch this, shall we? Boom. Get that out of the way. My picture looks good, but I'm getting indications that the Wi-Fi might be a little unstable tonight. Once again, I'll lodge my complaints. One of the downsides of living where I'm living, we have cable internet that clocks really good speeds, and I'm Ethernet wired directly into it, and still get these indicators at times when I'm live streaming through StreamYard. Sometimes we see the impact of it, and sometimes it's not noticeable at all. So apologies in advance if it should hiccup at all. One of the many reasons I'm looking forward to getting home, better Wi-Fi, and I actually think I'm going to invest in Starlink, the Go version, the smaller kind of portable dish that I can bring around with me as we travel, and even take it on the road, covering the team this next year in the event that I run into any hotel Wi-Fi issues. Any of you who watched my coverage from the Senior Bowl will know what can happen with that. Hotels not always reliable. So I want to get right into this piece, this Eric Edholm piece on NFL.com. I thought this was really cool. I really love rankings and lists like this where you kind of go next level. And what brought my attention to it, I missed it on NFL.com, but Northwest Sports, the website arm of Seattle Sports 710, kind of encapsulated it today and summed it up. So here are the 4 First of all, this is kind of the parameters that Eric set on this. So he said, higher draft picks were not dismissed for this exercise, but I tended to side with the highest achieving lower selections. I'll get into that in a little bit because I think it's a little bit of a miss on Eric's part. I feel like do one or the other, right? If you're going to focus on value, then in my opinion, you kind of take the first round out of the mix because first rounders should be great players. Even if you're taking at the end of the first round, like he has Lamar Jackson as one of his top 5 quarterback values of the 2000s. He's a first round pick. I get it. It was the last pick of the first round, but that's just how I feel about it. As I've kind of dug into this thing, extra weight was given to longevity and the value those players provided for the teams that drafted them. So here are the 4 Seahawks that did make the list, and in very prominent fashion in many cases. Bobby Wagner, obviously, second round pick, number 47 overall in 2012. And Eric has him as number 1, the number 1 best linebacker draft value of the 2000s, of this quarter century. At quarterback, he's got Russell Wilson at 3rd, obviously 3rd round. I'm sorry, 4th among quarterbacks. Tom Brady's number 1. He just made it. When I saw that ranking, I thought, wait a minute, that can't be right. But he was drafted in 2000. It's kind of crazy to think the career that he's had, and it was and he's been out of the game for a few years now, and it was all encompassed in the 2000s. Obviously, 2012, number 75 overall, 3rd rounder. He's got Wilson as his number 4 best value of the 2000s at the quarterback position. He's got Cam Chancellor as his number 5 safety, number 133 overall in 2010 in the 5th round. He's got him as the 5th best value of all the safeties taken in the 2000s. And then Richard Sherman, of course, he has him as the number 1. I would have been surprised if it was anybody else. The number 1 best value of any cornerback drafted in the 2000s. Taken, of course, at number 154 overall, 2011. But when I first saw this, first thing that came to my mind is, what about KJ Wright? I mean, how many 4th round draft picks have accomplished what he accomplished and were such a key part of their team's success in the 2000s? Again, I'll read, this is word for word what Eric Edholm said in kind of setting up the parameters of how he did this piece. Higher draft picks were not dismissed for this exercise, but I tended to side with the highest achieving lower selections. Extra weight was also given to longevity and the value those players provided for the teams that drafted them. Well, his linebacker selections, he has number 1 overall, Bobby Wagner. Already talked about that, right? I wouldn't expect it to be anybody less. And no, he's a 2nd round pick, right? It's not exactly a steal, but 2nd round picks are a little hit and miss. Levante David, also a 2nd round pick. He has him as his number 2 best value. Fred Warner, 3rd round pick. Don't have any qualms with this up until this point. Brian Urlacher, another one that just snuck in. That's what kind of surprised me on this one too. I was like, yeah, he was drafted in 2000, right? He's been out of the game for what feels like ever. But he was a top 10 pick. He was a 9th overall pick. And inside linebackers don't get drafted 9th overall. So to me, this is a miss. The 9th overall pick in the draft should never be considered great value. You better be a superstar, or at least a very good longtime starter. Brian Urlacher obviously was. So I find it questionable that he would be on a value list. And then the 5th one is Lance Briggs. Bears, drafted in 2003, number 68 overall in the 3rd round. So I thought I would do something. And here are all of these players compared, side by side. I don't know why they don't show Urlacher's picture. Maybe they don't have a current picture after he had his hair transplant. Not sure. But again, you can see, like, the numbers don't lie, right? I mean, David's really stand out because he played so long. 198 games, leads this group, obviously. And so he's got the most tackles. And, God, he was so great in pass coverage and such a versatile linebacker. I think Levante David is one of the most underrated players of my lifetime. Like, I think when people sit around, they talk about great linebackers, I think you have to dig a little bit. And then somebody in the room will go, what about Levante David? Like, his numbers are off the hook. So I'm not arguing with that one at all. But again, you look at Urlacher and the numbers are undeniable. But he was the 9th pick in the draft. You look at KJ, and yeah, the numbers aren't always there. He did some of the dirty work. He didn't have a lot of the on-ball productivity, right? Only 13 and a half sacks, only 6 interceptions. That was really surprising to me, actually, when I pulled these numbers up. But like, you look at the tackle numbers, and we know what he provided as far as value on the field. Said this the other day because he made my all Dan team and my all favorites. One of the one of the best linebackers I've ever seen at consistently identifying and reacting to screen passes. Like when he left, there was a noticeable decline in our ability to defend screen passes. It really went downhill. But he was a 4th round pick, right? Again, Briggs a 3rd rounder, Urlacher the number 9 pick in the draft, Warner's a 3rd rounder, David's a 2nd rounder, and then Bobby obviously a 2nd rounder. What KJ Wright accomplished in the 2000s in his time in Seattle as a 4th rounder, I think if you're going to truly commit to a list that identifies draft value, I don't think you can have the number 9 pick on there. I think KJ got snubbed on this. And I get it. Like, it's, writer's prerogative. I've done it. Like, just, this is my criteria. But he kind of laid it out. And then I feel like he overlooked KJ on that one. That was a real bummer. For me, anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. Right? Let's see what we got here. Oh, I want to start this up too. How's it going, guys? Sam, thanks for being a new member. Really, really appreciate it. Let's say hello to people checking in. Misfit, what is up? Looks like everybody got their nicknames back, right? That whole kind of YouTube snafu thing. Big Papa says it's nice in Washington State. I hope so. The volatility of the weather in this part of the country is something that I just was ignorant about, didn't know, but I've really enjoyed, actually. Like, the variety is kind of cool. I mean, you get a little bit of that in Seattle at certain times of the year, but we're talking about it'll sprinkle for an hour and then clear up, and then it might rain a little bit later. Today was like when I first woke up, because we drove all night. We went and visited some family in Elkhart, Indiana. Sean Kemp's hometown, was there last night, and literally drove 6.5 hours to go have birthday dinner for my fiance with her son and his family, and then went and saw a movie. We'll get to that in a minute, and then drove back. And she has to work overnight tonight, so we tried to stay up all night. That's why, hence the driving all the way through. So I did 13 hours of driving yesterday. So good conditioning for the cross-country drive I'm about to make in about a week. But it was, so I slept in a little bit today. That's the point I was trying to get to. So I went to go to the gym, and it clearly had rained really hard. Like, it was still overcast outside. Everything was wet. I'm like, all right, cool. It's very refreshing, right? You know what it's like if you're in the Northwest, that after rain feeling. Pretty cool. So went and worked out. Walk out of the gym, gorgeous. Like, there's a few clouds, but just an absolutely beautiful, beautiful evening. Get home, sit down, do a bunch of work here. And then she gets up, she gets ready. It's time to go to work. She beats me out the door and she goes, "Hey, have you seen this?" I'm like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" And just like Hollywood rain, like torrential, like day after tomorrow kind of rain. I'm wearing flip-flops at the time. So I go running out to the car to open the door for her so she can get out and try to stay as dry as possible in her scrubs. And my flip-flops are just soaked already. They're flopping all over, not in the way they're supposed to. Like, the car's, I can see my car from here. It's like 30 feet away from the door of our apartment building, just drenched, soaked, driving all the way to work at like half normal speed, hydroplaning like crazy. You have to have the wipers on high. It was insane. And now it's gone. And now it just looks really, really pretty. So just said it before, I'll say it again. Got another example of it the other night. We drove up to a town called Parkersburg because they have an overlook, like an old historical park where a bunch of battles were sort of waged during the Civil War. And so it overlooks the whole town. A lot of old architecture, beautiful, beautiful view of the sunset. I'll post some of those pictures on my Twitter as soon as I transfer them over from my camera. But just I'm gonna miss the beauty of this part of the country for sure. There's John McGrath, winner of the polo shirt, still coming, still coming. So John asked this question: is this about free? So hopefully you got caught up on the parameters of Eric's piece. There we go. Okay. Yeah. John says, even though not a lot of fans like him anymore, Russ was definitely a steal. Third round that nobody thought was even going to play, let alone start and help us win a Super Bowl. Yeah, I don't know, just kind of the way things are, how much better teams are at evaluating draft talent. We talked with Robert Mays a couple of weeks ago about how this year, more than any I can remember, like every team had a good draft. Like I pointed out that Chad Reuter's draft grades, every single team, nobody got less than a B. Like I don't ever remember that happening. There's always a couple of draft classes where you can point to and say, oof, I don't know what they were doing. Teams are just better. They have more data at their disposal, right? The analytics have become a bigger part of the game. And then we've seen very few long tenured GMs. So we don't have as much of that old school mindset. We have a bunch of younger GMs, and similar to the revolution we saw 10-ish years ago, right? McVay, Shanahan, those guys, and then the movement to hire younger coaches, many of whom have shared DNA and come from similar trees or the same tree. It's kind of happening with GMs too. Like teams are rating the best teams' front offices for their GMs, and they're younger, more forward thinking, more analytically driven. And so teams are just overall better at doing this. And so I think the point I'm trying to work up to here is Russ in 2012 in the third round becoming a long-term starter that we're even having debates about whether he's a Hall of Famer is remarkable in the third round. It just doesn't happen anymore. And then Brock Purdy, seventh round a few years ago, just got his big extension. I don't know that we're ever going to see that again. Maybe ever. Like, that seems crazy, right? Somebody will sneak through. Maybe, I mean, let's just look at this last year's draft as a good example because it was pretty widely panned. A Tyler Shuck in the second round. Maybe he becomes a very, very good player. Maybe a Will Howard in the sixth round to Pittsburgh becomes a really good player at some point. But Russell Wilson level, Brock Purdy level, like, I don't know if that's ever going to happen again. If it does, it'll certainly it'll stand out. It'll be an anomaly. I think quarterbacks are taken in the first round for a reason. And because it's so important, obviously, and so hard to find, teams will force it, right? Like the Giants trade up to take Jackson Dart this year, regardless of what you thought of him as a project or a prospect. I mean, could be a project. Or whether he works out or not, I don't argue with the process because it's that important and it's so hard to find them later on. So you take shots and you take them in the first round, you get the fifth-year option, all that stuff that we've talked about a lot. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how history kind of goes forward from here at that position. If we ever do see a Russell Wilson type career or a Brock Purdy type career, drafted late on day two or at the the very end of the draft. Pretty crazy stuff. All right, next on the agenda, I promised that I would give some updates about coverage. So what is the date today? It is the 9th? Yeah. So a week from today. Wow, it's crazy. Time flies. I feel like I was just arriving in April in Arizona. In February, like the 20th, 21st, and then and got to start doing this full time. Hitting the road a week from today, and driving back because got to take the car, got to have the car, got to have the cat, got to have all the stuff, got to pack all this up. Before I do, I'll try to. No promises. There's a lot coming up, but a number of you have indicated anytime I've brought this up over the last few months that you'd like to see this. Do like a behind the scenes thing of how I put an episode together, kind of my workflow and the equipment that I use and everything else. Try to do that before I tear all this down and throw it in. Got to wrap the green screen up kind of National Lampoon grandma style, where I wrap it in. It doesn't fit in the car, so I have to wrap it in saran, make sure it's watertight, and then I wrap it in a tarp, and then I have to strap it to the luggage rack on top. And then we hit the road, 4-day drive. We're stopping in Iowa City the first night. It's about 10 hours a day, first 3 days anyway. Iowa City the first day, Rapid City the second day, my old hometown of Missoula, Montana, when I was just a little youngin', on the third day, and then like an easier drive from there to get home. And then camp starts on the 23rd. I have been promised access to the first few days of camp, full access, credentials, to be able to be on the field and watch things up close and be at the media availabilities and talk to the coaches and players, et cetera. And then the hope is, and I'm confident, but never count my chickens before they hatch. Yeah, I'm old enough, I can say that. Sit down with Julie and Dave and the folks in the media relations department and see about getting credentialed for the entire season. That's the hope. That's the goal. That's why I'm driving, not flying and renting a car. So we'll see. If that is the case, then that starts on the 23rd. And you'll see a different level of coverage from me, both here on the channel and elsewhere. And those are some of the announcements that I made earlier today, and I'll remind you here. Let's see, I have a little video prepared, so I'll play that, and then anything that's missed in it, I will, I'll kind of follow up on. All right, so bear with me. Give me a second. Let me play this real quick for you. Hey guys, just take a moment of your time for some real talk here. I'm a full-time content creator. Those of you who had followed me for any length of time know that. Then in February, I stepped away from my long-time successful career in the hospitality business to make a go of this full-time. A lot of you encouraged me to do it. My partner encouraged me to do it. Family members, friends. It has been incredibly rewarding to be able to focus 100% of my time on free agency, the draft, the off season, instead of having to compromise some of that as I have in the past because of work obligations. Has been amazing. I knew it would be a challenge financially because in the off season, there aren't endorsements. One of these days, I would hope to convince some of these companies that, take a look at my views during March and April when all the off-season drama is happening. They're actually better than they are during the season, but I digress. The endorsements don't happen in the off-season. And so part of trying to build a business is I have to look at the floor and the ceiling. Well, I was just informed that one of my 3 primary revenue streams is gone for 90 days. I'm not getting paid a penny for anything through the Blue Wire network for the next 90 days because of a glitch when they moved our audio podcasts over from one platform to the next. Some of you might remember back in February where the show wasn't showing up on Apple Podcasts for a while. Well, apparently, even when it did, when that was fixed, it wasn't making impressions, not getting credit for any of the downloads, not going to see a penny from the network until the end of September. That's tough. It's not a lot of money, but it's enough that I can pay all my bills. I can make it work without having to lean on the generosity of loved ones. So how can you help? There's a couple different ways. If you don't want to pay a penny, subscribe to the channel. That is the best way you can support any YouTube channel. Helps with the algorithm. The more subscribers you have, the more views you tend to get. Your videos get pushed out to more people, all of that. And YouTube pays on a 30-day delay. So I know exactly what I'm going to make from month to month. It allows me to budget, things like that. There are a couple other ways, and I'm really excited to make these announcements. If you don't know already, I started writing again. So excited about this. So I do have a Substack. There are 2 pieces posted already. I'm working on a 3rd that'll go up later today as I record this. Absolutely free until we get into training camp. And then guys, I'm capping it at $3. I see what else is out there. I want to be competitive. I want to be aggressive. $3 will get you everything I post on Substack, period. Then the Patreon. Started that a couple months ago. Got some great response to it early on. Really excited about that. There's more freedom on Patreon. There's 2 things that provides you as the viewer for value. One is I can use all 22. I can do more film breakdowns, look back, bring back the Dan's Dandy play of the day. I've been talking about that lately. I can use the all 22 on Patreon. Also, when I get the training camp access, right? Exclusive interviews, exclusive training camp footage, within the framework of what I'm allowed to use, how much I'm allowed to use from the Seahawks, that you will get exclusively at times and other times early access to. Plus, everything I produce is going to show up on the Patreon page, audio and video, and you get to watch it there ad-free for $10 a month, capped. I just decided that the previous tiers, I just didn't really understand the format, and I've looked at what other creators are doing and wanted to be aggressive in what I offer there. The third thing is this, and maybe right now, if there's any way you want to help contribute to me as a full-time content creator, this is it. There are some direct donation opportunities as I look to navigate the next 45 to 60 days traveling back to Seattle, all the expenses associated with that, and then getting ready for the season to start, being able to go on the road and cover them on road games. There's a transition there that's going to be a lot tougher after today's news. Everything is linked down below as you watch this video. You can buy me a beer or a coffee. That's all self-explanatory. It's just kind of a fun way to donate. That link is down below. And then there are the direct opportunities, either through Zelle or Cash App, that are also down below. Furthermore, and finally, if you have a business or something that you want to promote, I would absolutely love to do that for you. If you have an online business that appeals to everybody, or a local business in the Seattle area that I can help promote, let me know. Get a hold of me. My email is down below, and we can discuss that as well. Anything, everything that you do is appreciated. One of the most gratifying things to me about this isn't just the ability to set my own schedule, work from home, cover something I'm passionate about, and actually have that be my career, but it's the engagement and the involvement with you, the community that's being built here on Seahawks Forever. So I appreciate everything you can do. Thank you for taking the time. Now, back to your regularly scheduled program. Forever and always, go Hawks. Thanks for humoring me on that one, you guys. Whoops, hold on. Hang on. Gee, manies. So that's that. Yeah, I'm really excited about the Substack thing. If you, my first post, if you want to head over there and check it out, again, that's free until camp starts, and I'll even go a couple of days into camp. Like I want to be able to provide like some free content from my impressions of the first couple of practices there. But I got burned out on writing, and so I kind of talk about my journey a little bit, like what led up to that, how that happened, and then kind of what's happened since. And it's been really, really fun to kind of knock the rust off and do that again. Like writing was always my background. And it was, even when I was working in television, like I always felt like the writing aspect of it, like producing the show, writing my scripts, was my strength. And so it's just been fun again. And I think it just allows me to add a different layer to what I do here. There's just a different type of analysis. Like if you prefer reading, if you're visual and you want to see things broken down with graphics and stats and things like that, as opposed to just hearing them in spoken word, like that'll happen. Sometimes it'll be a companion piece, like there'll be, you'll see a little redundancy where I'll write about something in depth, and then I'll do a video where I also talk about it. And then there'll be some things that stand alone that just work better as a written piece. So I'm excited about that. Check that out. That's over at Substack. Everything is just called Seahawks Forever, right? Okay, so let me see if I missed any questions. I think I saw one here from... I've always marveled at those dudes and ladies. The craziest one I ever saw, Maple Valley, is where my parents live. Actually, I'm going to be staying out in Maple Valley if any of you are from there for the beginning of training camp. I saw a guy that was so good at it that he was able to use the wind, and he would, it was one of those big furniture signs or whatever, probably shaped like an arrow, and it was a really windy day, and he would throw it forward into the wind, spinning, and then judge it just right so the wind would blow it right back to him. It was unbelievable. I felt like I was sitting at a red light, and I felt like I was watching a green screen or watching CGI. It was unbelievable. Like, some of you may have heard me say this before, but I'm just an admirer of talent. People who are just talented at stuff, even if the things that they're talented on or at aren't things that I'm normally interested in. And something like that just blows me away. I just don't get it. Like the Rubik's Cube people and glass blowers. I don't know. People like that. It's crazy. I know they have schools, don't they? Like where you can go and, like, I don't know, sign spinning universities. I will say this, if any of you are in the Bellevue area, I have a wonderful, wonderful relationship still with the folks at El Gaucho, who I spent the last six years working for, and thankfully they appreciate my versatility and all the hard work I put in there. And so I will, especially at the beginning, just trying to get caught up and whatnot after kind of the dry part of the off season, is I'll pop in there a couple times a week, and once I understand the rhythm of training camp and kind of my schedule, when my availability is, I'll let him know when I'm available, and I'll hop in there as a captain, or maybe even take a section once in a while. So I'll jump back in there and be seen there. So if any of you want to go out to dinner and you want to hit El Gaucho, hit me up first and see if it's a night I'm working. It'd be cool to say hello. Also, in the places that I mentioned on the drive, if any of you are from or familiar with Iowa City, Rapid City, Missoula, good places to eat at the end of a long day of driving. Like, we certainly eat our share of fast food and appreciate all the chains for different reasons. But it'd be nice to eat somewhere a little bit better than that, right, on our trip. So if any of you are aware of that, let me see if I can find this, because I do want to give a shout out. I had a viewer reach out to me. Oh, I can't find it. I've got it saved somewhere. But I had a viewer who is in the Coeur d'Alene area and has a food truck, and it looks amazing. And he offered to buy me lunch, buy us lunch when we come through. So we'll definitely do that on our last day. Some other cool news today, and just to kind of give you some programming ideas as we move forward over the next few weeks, getting into training camp. I'll try to produce some shows in advance of the 16th so that I could schedule them to be released so that there's some content while we're driving. And then, depending on how I'm feeling and how much the road beats me up, I'll certainly have the laptop on the road with me. And if there's anything to react to or just any thoughts that I want to pass along, I'll do shows at night throughout the drive. I've also had some viewers give me some feedback on that they might like to see like a travel series, kind of documenting my drive and some interesting things along the way. That idea was hatched when I thought I was going to be driving back alone, just me and Butch. Driving with Christine, like, I don't know if I'll do that. We may want to do some other things, or just kind of just try to go straight through and make up a little bit better time. But if there are interesting things along the way, I'll do that. I really wanted to go to, and maybe I will, I don't know. Knowing that Iowa City is close enough to the Field of Dreams movie site and the field and the ballpark they built there, and then the set that they still have set up. Such a, one of my all-time favorite sports movies. Speaking of sports movies. And, but it's like an hour out of the way. But I want to look at it again, because maybe it's not an hour out of the way. Maybe we just stay that at the end of the first day of driving closer to that so I can check it out. And then obviously, like, I've never seen Mount Rushmore, and that's only a half an hour out of the way on Rapid City. So I think the idea was at the end of the driving day, we'll go see it under the lights. It would be kind of cool. But anything else that comes up, like hometowns of Seahawk players, of former days, anything like that I can think of, I will do. And then, here you go, the Vancouver location. There you go, Misfit. I actually helped open that location. I went down for a couple of days and helped train some of the servers down there. So if it's good, I'll take credit for it. By the way, if any of you are from Boise, I don't know if they've announced this down there, if there's been any publicity, but the next, actually only the second out-of-state El Gaucho, there is one in Portland, and it has been for years. They're opening one in Boise this fall in what looks to be like a really cool old building. I was really surprised when I got word that they're opening so quickly, but it's because they were able to find basically a turnkey place that just needs to be like stylized and turned into Gaucho. If any of you aren't familiar with El Gaucho, it's a fine dining steakhouse, 28-day dry-aged Angus beef, outstanding steaks, but old school fine dining service, bow tie, captains in tuxedos, and tableside service. So tableside Caesar salads made fresh, tableside bananas Foster, carved Chateaubriand tableside, things like that. So if you're in the Boise area, just a heads up. And if you're in the Scottsdale, Arizona area, that's coming next year. And that'll be exciting because there'll be an opportunity then to kind of jump back and forth based on the season sometimes, and maybe hop in there and have some El Gaucho down in Arizona. So just a little, that wasn't planned, just a little Little free promo there. I should make those guys pay me to promote on the channel, shouldn't I? Yes, I like this. Where was that? John says, when you talk about loading up the green screen and heading out, you're giving me hilarious old school John Clayton ESPN commercial vibes. I'll tell you the goal again someday when we kind of settle down and decide where the forever home's going to be, is to have a physical background. Like that's the ideal, like I used to, right? With the memorabilia and the jerseys and that kind of stuff. I just like how it looks better. Just the depth of vision and everything else. If things go well with coverage and credentials and everything else, then maybe even next season, rather than staying with family, I will, we'll get a place, and then we're talking about what Christine's going to do too. She's a contract nurse, and she just technically can't work in Seattle right now because that's where her home address is. There's rules and regulations and laws and stuff about you can't be considered a travel nurse if you work within 50 miles of your home address. But we can change that, and so that might happen in the future as well. She might come join me. Other than that, though, we're going to do the long distance thing again, which we've done successfully in the past. But the green screen thing, this is the point I was trying to get to, is so cool. Really glad that I invested in a really good one, and I still don't even think that I've kind of sort of gone past the tip of the iceberg and doing some cool stuff with it and artwork and things like that. But it's just the flexibility of it is awesome. If I took this thing down, you'd see how messy my damn living room is. You'd probably see cats running around. I always thought it'd be kind of funny to do, like, you could almost do it as a sketch, like a behind the scenes thing, like behind the green screen, like what happens behind the green screen. But these things are great. It just doesn't fit in my car. I can fit a lot in my car. My car has like 55 cubic feet of cargo space with the seats folded down, so I can pack a lot of stuff in there. Plus I put a car top carrier on top. This thing's just too long. But I figured it out, worked great driving from Arizona to here, wrapping it up like I described, and then like bungee cording it to the car top carrier. So it worked just fine. Not a drop of water got in there. Let's see. Space says, I think you're right about Devontae Adams can still be effective. I must have watched our Rams preview series with Jake Ellenbogen. He had over 1,000 yards last year. I consider that effective. I don't think he'll drop off too much this season. I don't either. I think that's maybe the best match that Adams could have found at this stage of his career in the offseason. And something that, I don't know why so many people, when I say this, kind of poo-poo it, or have a adverse reaction to it. I think the Rams are clearly the best team in the division as we sit here today. And part of the reason is that offense is ready to go. Like continuity, chemistry, up front, skill positions, everything. And you're swapping out Devontae Adams for a Cooper Kupp. That's pretty impressive. If Matt Stafford stays healthy, that's an offense that's going to be ready to hit the ground running. And we saw how chaotic and disruptive that young defense was by the end of last season. We saw what they did to Minnesota and Sam Darnold in the playoffs, right, with 9 sacks. I think they're poised to get off to a quick start, and I see them jumping on top of the division early. And then just hopefully, we can stay within striking distance. I think, the rest of the division has an opportunity to stay within striking distance of the Rams for a couple of reasons. One is I think there's going to be a lot of parity in the league, and we're going to beat each other up to some extent. I think there's going to be a lot of splitting. I don't think any one of the 4 teams is going to dominate the division, but also the fact that all 4 teams in the division have that advantageous schedule rotation where they play the NFC and the AFC South is just makes for strength of schedule being favorable. A lot of young quarterbacks on the schedules for all 4 teams, which would lend itself to some parity. And I think Jake and I talked about the concept that, look, the range between the last place team and the first place team in the NFC West this year might be like 9-13. I could absolutely see the last place team in the NFC West, which I would expect to be the Cardinals, still winning 9 games this year. I really do. Could possibly get all 3 playoff teams from the NFC West. Probably not, because the NFC North exists, and that's a thing. And there's some good teams elsewhere in the conference, but. Yeah, I think the Rams are going to be I think they're going to be really good. Misfit, I'm not going to put it up. I don't want to go down this road. I see your comment. I acknowledge it. I agree with it. I can't believe that hasn't been brought up yet. And if it happened, it would be rushed and it just wouldn't be done right? It would just look stupid. Probably be like a big canvas poster just slapped up there with duct tape and bungee. Oh, man. I'll tell you a John Clayton story. So I got an opportunity to meet him once. Back when I was, if any of you are from the Bellevue area, you remember a place called Tap House Grill. It was such a great place for like 10 years. And then COVID kind of knocked out the last of it. But the owner kind of had lost his passion, wanted to get out of the market anyway. But I was the GM there for a couple of years, and I got a chance to meet Clayton. He was in the bar one night with his wife. And I went over, and I typically try to give a lot of space to celebrities. I'm not, you might think that I'm different about this, but like even given what I do, I usually keep my distance. Obviously at El Gaucho, we have a great relationship with the Seahawks. We've done a lot of events with them. And so there's just natural opportunities to meet some of those guys, but I never was assertive about it. I always kind of let it happen and let it come to me. And so sometimes big sports celebrities who come into restaurants I've worked at, and I don't even say hi. I don't bother. But in this case, it was John Clayton, and I went over and said hi. Easier to do when you're the GM, right? Gives you an opening. You can introduce yourself as such. We talked for 3 hours, I think, about football. And one of the reasons I hesitate sometimes to approach athletes is because when they're not on the clock, they don't want to talk about work, right? But Clayton did. Man, he did. And we talked for 3 hours. And then afterwards, he introduced me to his wife. And I said, I'm so sorry for taking up so much of his time. And she laughed. And I had heard stories about what a wonderful woman she was and what a great relationship they had, what a great team they were. And she said, trust me, if we had 5 more hours, he would talk to you for 5 more hours. Like, I'm used to it. But she said it with love, and she said it smiling and laughing. The one thing I wished, and I know he wouldn't have, but man, if I could go back and do it all over again, I might have asked him, like, if you trust me and I promise confidentiality, can I just peek at your contact list in your phone a little bit? Can you imagine like him scrolling through his phone and all the GMs and coaches and players and stuff he must have had in his phone? Man, he was great. He was one of a kind. I don't know that we'll ever see one like John Clayton again. He is missed. All right. Let's see. Dogzilla today checking in from Devy's deep dive and his nightly tour of all the dive bars in the Pacific Northwest area. Samurai, new member on YouTube. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate that. Welcome. Good to have you. Okay, Samurai. We have the cool discussion about Mount Rushmore going on. Yeah, he would stiff the contractors 100%. Hey, Samurai knew what I was talking about. Shout out to Tap House Grill. Man, I love that place. 160 beers on tap. When I started there, I was a bar manager, so I got to make all those decisions. It was one of the cool things that probably allowed me to get to GM is the owner was like, you're the bar manager. You decide what beers we have. I got to just have total autonomy when it came to that. Gained a ton of weight. The fattest, heaviest I've ever been was 2005, 6, and 7, especially 6 and 7, because when you have decisions to make about 160 beers to put on tap, you sample a lot of beer and you have access to free beer. And so not only would I do a lot of that, but at the end of just about every day, I'd sit down and have one or two. And when I started working there, I was drinking pale ales and Kolsch's, lighter beers. I had just started drinking microbrews, I think a couple years before that. And I started light like everybody else does. So I would drink like Mac and Jacks and Hefeweizens. By the time I left there, I was drinking like 15% ABV Trappist Monk Belgian beers. Very heavy, very rich. Then you go home at 9, 10 o'clock at night, and then you eat after it. Man, I got heavy. I was digging through some old stuff the other day, and there was an article, a local newspaper did an article in Bellevue on me, and and it was an interview, and it was just fun to go back and read it. But the picture, they're like, hey, can you pour a beer so we can take a picture of you? You wouldn't even recognize me. Seriously, wouldn't recognize me. John says, prediction, Dan becomes the next great Seahawks John Clayton type reporter after getting his credentials approved. I mean, the hair is receding, but it's not quite John Clayton level yet. So I'm trying to hang on to that as long as possible. But the glasses are here now. Like, I'm fully committed to those now. He liked a little heavier metal than me, right? Like, I'm not a Slayer guy, but I'm a Tremonti, Creed, Breaking Benjamin, Shinedown kind of guy. So sort of metal, right? So there's some in common there. And I would need a ponytail. I am, well, I got a long ways to go there. I haven't cut my hair in 3 months. Just, not having to work in fine dining anymore is kind of fun. I wish I had thought of this at the beginning. Actually, I did. When I first went to Arizona, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to I'm not going to cut my hair. Just see what happens for a long time. And then about a month into it, like, it got past a point that I had it in quite a while, and it just was kind of itchy and uncomfortable. And I was like, screw it. I went and got a cut. I wish I hadn't, because it's kind of fun. But yeah, you can't really tell yet with a hat on, but it's going to take a while to get to ponytail status. Samurai says, got to do your own green screen skit where you walk off to feed your cats. I've thought about having some fun with green screen, maybe like Halloween. Like, there's things you can do. If I wore a green shirt, I would just be a floating head. There's certain hats, a lot of Seahawk hats I can't wear with the green screen because they have the action green in it, and so you'll see the picture displayed on there. Oh, I've had a mullet, John. High school. I could bust out some pictures. But we didn't call it a mullet back then. We called it a bi-level, right? Because it was above the ears and below the collar. Bi-level. Parted down the middle. Feathered. I grew up in the 80s. Come on now. I listened to Poison. You can picture it. The only thing is, like, I would flip back and forth when I was younger. I was like athlete, rock star. Like, those were the two things that I wanted to be, right? And so I would try to grow my hair out, and it would get pretty long back then, but my hair is so fine that it would just like blow away. Now they make better product you can put in it to fix that. But Tap House had amazing food. They were amazing. I miss that place, man. And then I helped open the one in Seattle too, in the old Planet Hollywood spot. God, they had this volcano goat cheese, they called it, where it was this big bunch of goat cheese with this really spicy marinara over the top, served hot with crostinis. God, that was good. I discovered one of my lifelong loves and passions at Tap House Grill. It's not a woman, but sriracha. I met sriracha at Tap House Grill. Sat down one day, one of my first days there, with a server, guy that I'm still friends with and talk to this day. He's a big sports fan. Shout out to Greg if you're watching. And he had a big dish of their garlic chicken creamy pasta, which is also freaking phenomenal. And he had this little ramekin of this like bright red sauce, and then he poured it all over the top of it. I go, what is that? I was like, it's not Cholula. It's not Tabasco. It's not ketchup. It's like, but it has that consistency. He's like, it's sriracha. I'm like, what? This is 2005. I'd never heard of sriracha. I don't know if that's kind of when it started to become popular, or if maybe I just missed the boat. Game changer. Changed my life. I put that shit on everything now. But that still to this day is kind of one of my favorite uses for sriracha is I like contrasts in flavor. So sriracha on a creamy pasta, like an Alfredo. I was warming up some homemade lasagna I made the other day for dinner tonight, but now I think I might have to make mac and cheese and slather it in sriracha. Yeah, porters. I was drinking porters, Belgians, obviously IPAs. My palate has changed though. Not that I can't, I just don't choose to drink IPAs anymore. Occasionally I will. It's too much, too rich, too hoppy, heartburn. Like those are all things I take into consideration now. And so I've kind of, I went one extreme and now I've kind of dialed it back down to like middle ground. Like, I think I've talked about this on the show before. Like my go-to, if I just don't want to put any thought into it, I want to stop at a mini mart or something, just grab some beer. I'll grab Blue Moon. I think it's easy drinking. ABV's okay. This time of year, though, it's Sam Adams Summer Ale. Like, that's my jam. That's my go-to. I just don't like IPA anymore. And then I tried to drink an amber about a month ago, remembering that Mac and Jack's was my initial foray into microbrews and got me to stop drinking like Bud Light. And it was so gross. Like, it was just so rich and malty, and I just couldn't drink it anymore. It's weird how your palate changes. Hey, so this is cool, Misfit. It does suck, though. Literally tonight. No, it's too late to make it now. Creed's in Lexington, Kentucky. They're 2.5 hours away from me right now. My history with Creed is this. Always loved them. Mark Tremonti's my favorite musician now. Steve Perry is my GOAT of all time, but Tremonti, met him a number of times. Super nice guy. Interacted with him online. I have an autographed guitar from him. His signature edition PRS. Love Creed. Love Alter Bridge. Love his solo stuff. Love everything they do. They were shortly before things went off the rails and they had to break up and they kicked Stapp out of the band and then they formed Alter Bridge or whatever. So this is back in the early 2000s, right? Like right when it turned, like 2000, 2001, I believe. Their last tour, they were scheduled to play the Tacoma Dome and Spokane at near the end of their tour. And I had second row center tickets. This is way before ticket brokers ruined everything and just normal people like me could actually buy second row center. And then they canceled because Stapp was just a mess. They rescheduled a few of the shows months later. They ended up going back to Spokane, which I couldn't make it to, but not Tacoma. Pissed me off. So 20 years later, and I started talking 7 or 8 years ago about like Creed's going to get back together. And people are like, you're nuts. You're nuts. They hate each other. Stapp went off the deep end 15 years ago, whatever. I just saw the signs. I connected the dots. Like they had repaired their relationship. They started saying nice things about each other. Scott got healthy, and I actually saw him at the Triple Door in Seattle on a solo tour about 5 years ago, right before COVID. Yeah, it was 2019, fall of 2019, right before COVID hit. Unbelievable. He sounded better than ever, looked better than ever, still does. I was like, it's going to happen. And sure enough, it has, and I'm glad it's going well. They're going to keep moving forward with that. Best of both worlds. I get Alter Bridge and I get Creed. But I really wanted to go tonight, and originally Christine's schedule was open tonight, but they switched it. And so I wasn't going to drive over there by myself. But it sucks to know that they're so close. However, in August, like when you're going to see them in Vancouver, the night before, 2 nights before, they're at White River Amphitheater in Auburn. So I'll be going to that show. I'll finally get to see Creed. And I'm actually thinking of driving down to Ridgefield the next day and going back to back. So if I do that, I'll let you know. And we can get together and have a beer with eyes wide open. Arms wide open. God dang it. Dogzilla says, Stella Artois. Yeah, that's easy to drink. Is it available on tap? Some places it is. And then some places have kind of the mini tap. I've had that in a couple of bars I managed where it holds like a, God, I don't know what the volume is of this. Like a 3-gallon kind of insert. You see this with Heineken too. There's like a little countertop sort of tap. I always thought that'd be cool to have at home. John says, am I the only one that can absolutely see Dan with a beautiful Virginia waterfall mullet? Yeah. Seen some waterfalls here. No mullet though. If I do continue to grow the hair out, I'll let the sides go too. We'll figure it out. Wow, Dogzilla had a ponytail halfway down his back. Why does that not surprise me? It shouldn't, I guess. It doesn't. Misfit says sriracha is good, but banana ketchup is better. I'll be Googling that. Chipotle lime dipping sauce. Dude, I'm a sauce guy. Are you sauce guys? I am a sauce guy. I think it started in college. My go-to drunk food in college, this one roommate and I would always do this, is we always made sure we had a big case of frozen corn dogs in the freezer. And we'd get drunk and we'd cook them, obviously. But then the key with corn dogs is you got to have like 9 different sauces, right? There's yellow mustard, of course, duh. Ketchup, duh. Barbecue sauce, ranch, blue cheese, cheese sauce if you have it, like, jalapeno ranch, all that. Like, I love dipping sauces. Absolutely love them. Oh, sambal, yeah. Love that sauce. I've gotten, I think my tolerance for spice is pretty high. That sriracha hardly affects me. I douse my food in sriracha, and I don't feel like it's really all that spicy. Actually, in my managerial career, managed a wing joint in the U District for a year one time. That's where I was working and where I witnessed the Seahawks winning their Super Bowl, by the way. And we had a hell wing you had to sign a waiver for and everything. Jesse Jones came and did a story on it, like compared us to Wing Dome and everything else. That was kind of cool. That was insane. I took a toothpick one time of that sauce, dipped it in, and just rubbed it across my tongue. And the little line where the toothpick went, I could feel it for hours afterwards. That kind of stuff I'm not crazy. Like, I like trying to push the envelope to where it's as spicy as I can get it, but there's still flavor. If it gets like, I've never tried like Da Bomb from Hot Ones, and I wouldn't, because they all say the same thing. It tastes like crap, or there is no flavor. It's just heat. To me, it's the perfect hot sauce is finding that perfect balance where it still tastes good and it adds something to the dish, but it's hot as F. Dried ghost pepper flakes in very small doses on lasagna or pizza is awesome. I do sriracha on my pizza. I will probably add some sriracha to this lasagna. And I use red pepper flake in everything that I cook. I'm a little more careful about it now because sometimes my fiance doesn't like it as much. But I add, though I was cooking something a couple weeks ago, it was a stir fry dish, and I added the red pepper flake too early, and it basically created pepper spray. And I had to take like a half an hour break from cooking what I was cooking. See, now you're all just making me hungry. Oh, Lumpia. Shout out to my buddy, Stephen Douglas. You've heard his music on this show before. Can't wait to get back and see him. I miss you, buddy. He and his wife make Lumpia, and I think they're starting a little side gig business. He would bring it to work sometimes. Love it. And of course, one of the best things about Lumpia is like the sweet and sour dipping sauce, right? Samurai says had tickets for Rage Against the Machine, then COVID happened. Ugh. COVID, dude. What a time, right? John says, been to so many rock concerts. Ozzy and Kiss were my faves. Great shows. Iron Maiden too. So glad you brought this up since we're just shooting the shit here. What'd you guys think of that, the Black Sabbath thing that they did the other day? Like the last time, like their farewell performance. I thought it was unbelievable. I haven't watched the full thing start to finish, but I've seen tons of highlights. But I will. I'll watch it when it's all produced. Maybe it is already. I'll check it out. I thought that was such a great way to send a band off. I think it would have been I think about bands like Kiss, who you mentioned here, and I would have because I did see them about 2 months before the end. They played in Seattle. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. I was blown away by it. I thought it was awesome. It was the 4th time I'd seen him in my career. Had some concerns because Paul Stanley's voice has been real rough kind of in the years leading up to their final shows. But he was good enough that night, and I thought it was great. Kiss was my first concert ever, John. 1978. Seattle Center Coliseum, what is now known as Climate Pledge Arena. Cheap Trick opened. So technically the first band I ever saw live, 13 years old, was Cheap Trick, opening for Kiss. Then I went back and saw him. And so that was at the height. 1978 was Kiss Alive 2. Destroyer had been out for a while. That was the height of their greatness. stage shows like no one had ever seen before. Just loved everything about it. Then I went back in 79, saw him again at the same arena. It was the Dynasty Tour, and that was when the shine started to come off a little bit. They started to get a little poppier. Arenas were like half full, and then they kind of bounced back later, taking the makeup off and all that. Then I saw him several times after that. But I thought that was such a great job. I was blown away. I was really surprised. I wasn't really looking forward to seeing Ozzy sing because I thought I'd seen video of him a couple of years ago, the last time he tried to tour, and it looked like he might have been lip syncing. It was 100% live. He was sitting in his chair. I couldn't believe how he sounded. It was just off enough that you knew it was live, but like it was so great. And you know what he's going through with his health issues and everything, and then all the artists that joined in. I just thought it was so well done. I think that's a model that should be copied by older bands that want to say goodbye from now on. Have younger artists come and join you and pay tribute and everything else to like an all-star concert special like that. I thought it was amazing. Really, really did. Yeah, Tugzilla says saw Robert create a small. That's what I'm into now. I'll go see my favorite bands at arenas because that's where they play. I don't love stadium shows. I went and checked out Metallica last summer, even though I'm not a huge fan of theirs, but utmost respect. I just wanted to experience it. But it's not a great experience, right? You're either far away, you're watching them on a video screen, there's audio delay, it's expensive as hell. You're just so far away from the stage. That's why I like some of these, the genre that I like listening to, they're just not big enough to play arenas. And so, like Alter Bridge, I'll go see them. This blows me away because they're so good, but I'll see them at like the Moore or Showbox downtown, which is great because you can get closer to the stage. But it's just, and then these same bands go to Europe where rock is still an important genre, and they'll play 20,000 seat arenas and sell them out. They'll play Royal Albert Hall. They'll play Wembley Arena. And then they come back here and they play Showbox. It's, I know I sound like an old man on the porch, but it's kind of a sad state of affairs with what's popular in music now. Because there's still some bands out there doing really, really great stuff that play rock, even younger bands. Now we got a great discussion about Iron Maiden. That was one of my first, I've always tended to prefer clear-voiced singers with big ranges, right? Obviously, growing up in the 80s, guys like Don Dokken, Janie Lane, rest in peace, my old buddy. Mark Slaughter, although his voice is a little more raspy, a little bit of compression there. But I think where that came from is, the first bands that I fell in love with, Paul Stanley with Kiss, Geddy Lee with Rush, Bruce Dickinson with Iron Maiden. Like from then on, it was like, hey, if you've got a singer with a 4-octave range and you're singing like really hard melodic rock, like I'm in, I'm hooked. And the cool thing for someone like me nowadays is, even though there aren't a lot of up and coming bands in the United States that want to play that genre because you can't make money doing it, in Europe, it's not the case. Sweden, especially. There's some really, really great bands doing like late 80s, early 90s quality melodic hard rock with incredible singers with huge ranges and shredders at lead guitar. Bands like Heat with Eric Gronwald especially, although the other guy's okay too. Art Nation is one. The New Roses. Those Damn Crows. There's some really badass European bands doing really great rock music, and it's new. And what's cool is I'll discover one of these bands that I hadn't been aware of for a while, and it's always fun to discover them later because then they have like 5 or 6 albums of material that you can get into. It's kind of like discovering a really good show on Netflix later in its evolution, so that you can binge it for like a month, as opposed to finding a show that you love and it only has 8 episodes and then it's over and you have to wait a year and a half for the second season to come out. Kind of a little music and television analogy there. Oh yeah, I can't believe I didn't mention these guys. Jeff Tate, one of the all-time greats. One of the all-time greats. Another guy that I really want to see live, obviously male vocalist age, his voice a little lower now, but I've seen recent video and he can still deliver. He might be tuning down slightly, but he can still do all the material with his solo band. So I definitely want to check him out one of these days. I want to see him live before. I did see them live actually when he was still in Queensrÿche at the opening of the EMP. They had a series of concerts over about a 3-day period at Memorial Coliseum. And I went the day, I didn't go the Metallica day, but I went the day where Queensrÿche and Heart played. And Queensrÿche was obviously great. Like he was just that live video from, I don't know if it's their first tour, but it's an early tour. You'd find it on YouTube. It has millions of views. Live performance, 100% live. No auto-tunes before auto-tune was invented. Of Take Hold of the Flame. Top 5 vocal performance ever, in my opinion. Ever. Go watch it. Just unbelievable what he does. Like, you can't believe it's real until you realize that they didn't have technology back then to pitch correct at all. I would put it as the number 2 greatest vocal performance I've ever seen live, I think. Right behind Steve Perry performing Mother, Father, 1981, Houston, live at Houston. Go check that one out too. No auto-tune. Freaking amazing. Queensrÿche with an orchestra would have been cool. With Tate or with Michael, what's his name? Michael Desbars, the new guy. No, I can't. No, that's not him. Can't remember his name now. Anyway, he does a good job. It's just, he's good. He's trying to sound like Jeff Tate. Oh my God, now we're getting into it. Yeah, how could I not mention Sebastian Bach in that same group? One of the all-time greats. Another one I got to see live. Oh, one of my favorite shows of all time. They opened for Bon Jovi on the New Jersey tour. My favorite Bon Jovi album, by the way, New Jersey. And it was maybe my favorite rock tour I ever went to. That was the year that they had the catwalk. You see it in the video. So the video for Lay Your Hands on Me, great live video, and they show him up on the catwalk, and he would go up there with his wireless mic and Richie with his wireless guitar. And I was sitting about halfway back, about halfway up in the Tacoma Dome, and so it was like eye level to the catwalk. It was amazing. I'm surprised, artists haven't used that as often since. Now that, Pink will fly around the arena or whatever, but that catwalk was incredible. And that was Bon Jovi at the height. That was when John could do vocal gymnastics himself. People remember the last 10 years and how bad it got, but he was an amazing vocalist and they were an incredible live band. But Skid Row opened for them on that tour, and they were kind of like a precursor to grunge in a way. And here's what I mean by that. Because they came along when hair metal was still huge, and they grabbed a chunk of that spotlight. They were big on MTV, but they were much harder rock, much harder, more metal than like Bon Jovi, Poison, Dokken, even Motley. Certainly Def Leppard, more metal, less pop. And they just went out there in t-shirts and jeans. They didn't do the spandex and stuff. So they were kind of a little bit of a precursor, I think, to what we saw when grunge came on. Amazing. I mean, Sebastian was just so much energy, and he's like 6'6" on the stage, just struck this incredible figure. That was an incredible show. Thanks for bringing them up again. And then Motley, I have a great Motley story too. I never got to see Rat live, damn it. But my Motley story, saw them like 6 times live. And but the best one was Dr. Feelgood tour where they played Pullman. Bands used to go to Pullman and play their arena. I saw Aerosmith there in their prime. I saw Heart in their prime with Y&T opening up. That was a great show. I saw Def Leppard there on the Hysteria tour with Tesla opening for them in the round when they were at the height of their. It was amazing. But Motley Crue, Dr. Feelgood, and I got a backstage pass. It was given to me by Tim Rosenbaugh as a wedding gift. He was best man at my wedding. And he had just finished his rookie year with the Cardinals, and they were playing the Giants at the Meadowlands, and he was tossing the ball around pregame warmups. Security guard started shooting the shit with him. And, hey, can I get an autographed football from you? Like, Tim was a first round draft pick, it looked like he was going to have a nice career. And he said, yeah, but what can I get for it? And he said, I've got this. And he had a laminate Dr. Feelgood backstage pass because they had just played there. So he gave me that. I cut class that day, obviously, walked right into the tunnel at like 10 in the morning, just walked right past all the security and everything. Like, hey, what's up, dudes? Wearing it around my neck, and just sat there and watched them set the stage up that whole day, which I've always been kind of a behind the scenes sort of geek. So I got to watch them do all that. I was hoping for a live sound check, and that didn't happen. And then after the show, wanted to go backstage. I was like, let's go. Took my my wife's sister at the time. And I was like, let's go. And the security guys all tried to turn me away. They're like, no, that's not a good pass. I'm like, really? He's wearing it. He's wearing it. He's wearing it. He's wearing it. So they turned me away. Finally ended up finding a security entrance at another spot in the arena that a good friend of mine, a classmate, was working. And she's like, yeah, go. Well, the reason they were turning me away is because Motley Crue didn't like being in Pullman, Washington. There's nowhere to go out. They're not going to go party with college kids. They want to get the F out of there. They were on the plane in the air 18 minutes after they walked off the stage. And it takes 10 minutes to drive to the Moscow Pullman airport from the arena. So I got downstairs just in time for them to like shove me out of the way and rush them past on their way out. So close. But I was like a foot away from Tommy Lee. So that was kind of cool at the moment. Yeah. And that was back when Vince could sing too. Hawk for Life, new member. Welcome to the YouTube channel. Appreciate it. Training camp. Watch out for some exclusive material. Oh man, Meatloaf was so unique, wasn't he? That would have been an interesting one to watch. I bet it was very theatrical. So let's talk about another type of pop entertainment. So like I said, last night we went to Elkhart, had dinner with Christine's son to celebrate her birthday, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm not going to be here. We're not going to be together for the birthday. She'll be headed back here like the day before it, actually. I'm going to just miss it. But afterwards, we were just trying to figure out, like, we didn't want to stay there because then we would have had to get up in the morning and drive. It would have been harder for her to sleep in the car, get good enough sleep to work tonight. She's like, we got to kill time and stay awake. I got a surprise for you. So we stopped at Walmart. She comes out with these 2 giant bags of candy and a comforter and 2 pillows, and went to a drive-in theater outside of Mishawaka, South Bend, basically, Indiana. And it was cool because at the beginning, they showed this like little short film basically asking for support and donations, much like I did earlier tonight. But they talked about, the death of the drive-in theater. And I grew up I moved around quite a bit when I was younger, but my high school years I spent in Auburn, Washington. And they had the Valley 6 drive-in. Valley 8? Valley 6. I think it was 6. Off Auburn Way in Auburn, 6 screens, double features all the time. Thursday nights were family night, $2 a head. They would check your car. They would open your trunk, make sure you weren't sneaking people or food in, whatever. But it was huge. It was huge. You'd always go and check out the double feature. You'd try to sneak into other movies, whatever. It's a vacant lot now. So they showed some stats. And at the height of the drive-in era, I guess, there were over 4,000 drive-in theaters in the United States. There are less than 400 now, which is sad. I mean, I get it. Even IMAX theaters are struggling these days when everybody can just sit at home and rent things 2 weeks after they come out. But it was really cool to see it again and go to a drive-in and saw the F1 movie. And so I just wanted to kind of throw this out there, see if any of you had seen it, get your thoughts, give a quick little review. I was going to do just a standalone little video on it, but I thought, well, maybe nobody would want to watch that because it's not Seahawks related. But big sports movie fan. I know we talked last month about my top 5 sports movies, and I'd seen so many great reviews come in, including some that said, this is already one of my all-timers. So I thought, well, I got to watch that. And kudos to her for taking us to it, because probably wouldn't have been her choice initially. Here's what I thought. It was really good. It was really good. I've seen some hyperbole out there about how great it is. And like I said, like how this already is in my top 3 all-time sports movies. Can't wait to watch it again and again, whatever. The problem today with sports movies, unless they're based on a true story, is the formulas have all been done. And this formula had been done many times. So many cliches, right? We saw the Days of Thunder storyline with Cole Trickle. We saw, oh shoot, what were some of the other analogies I was thinking of with other movies that it compared to? Love of the Game, right? The over-the-hill athlete just trying to have that one more moment. Bull Durham. There was Bull Durham in there, the old grizzled veteran past his prime, trying to pass down his knowledge to the young kid who thinks he knows it all and is resistant to the advice of the older player. Like it was 4 or 5 classic sports movies all rolled into one. But it's not a criticism. That is just a statement of fact. It's really hard to be like, what am I trying to say? It's just really hard to be original and be compelling with an original sports story these days because it's all been done. Doesn't mean it can't be done well, and this was done extremely well. First of all, Brad Pitt was maybe the perfect casting choice. You talk about compelling. Like, he's just one of the most dynamic on-screen actors that there is. He's in my favorite sports movie of all time, and that's Moneyball. And I could watch that movie. I've watched it 10 times, probably 15. I'll watch it 100 more in my lifetime. I'm sure of it. I will watch this movie again. I'll go back to the theater to see it in an indoor theater again, and then probably buy it when it's available. The fact that they chose to do practical effects. Same director, I believe, as Top Gun Maverick. Hold that thought because there's some cool potential news coming. The fact they did practical effects, that it was all done in real F1 cars, real racing, with cameras, no CGI, no green screen. You felt it. That's why I want to go see it like in an IMAX, like in an indoor theater. I want to feel that. That's why I went back and saw Maverick a second time within the first week it came out. I wanted to feel that again. That was outstanding. So I thought it was an unoriginal script or script concept executed really well, very well. Now, the fun part is they're already talking about a sequel because it's done well. It's grossed, I think it had a $300 million opening weekend. So Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt have never worked together on a major motion picture. They were supposed to do Ford versus Ferrari together. That was going to be them. Just learn this. I thought that movie turned out great anyway. But the reason that they didn't do it is because Tom was going to play the Shelby character, and he felt like there wasn't enough driving. He wanted to do more driving in the movie. So he pulled out. But they've wanted to do a movie together. There is talk, and the directors are on record as talking about this. There is an idea to develop a script that brings, what was his name? Hayes? I can't remember the main character's name from the movie yesterday. Well, let me look it up for the sake of accuracy. All right. Sonny Hayes? No. Something Hayes, right? There it is. Sonny Hayes. Always stick with your first answer, right? There is an idea to bring Sonny Hayes and Cole Trickle together in a sequel for both Days of Thunder and F1. Basically bringing those characters, finding like the ages are kind of, they would work, that they maybe had some history, bringing them back together. Like that would be on the level of like some of the MCU stuff, combining storylines, some of the horror movie stuff, right? Like bringing superheroes, bringing villains and monsters together, different franchises and putting them together. That would be pretty spectacular. I was also really happy to hear recently that they are, I don't know if they finalized the script or not, but there is going to be one more Top Gun with Tom Cruise to kind of just cap off, make it a trilogy. That'll be a lot of fun. Slipknot's a band I was never really into musically, Misfit, but I've always wanted to see him live because that show just looks amazing. And I'm a huge Corey Taylor fan. I just prefer his solo stuff or his God, my brain is not working because I haven't eaten all day. Is that why? What's his other band? Come on. Soul. Stone Sour. But yeah, Slipknot would be fun to see. John says, I remember seeing Quiet Riot and Twisted Sister before they became popular. God, Kevin Dubrow had such just a big, strong voice, didn't he? Like he just, the old saying, say it with your chest, right? Man, it's a shame he passed so early. I was actually thinking about going to see Quiet Riot. God, when is that show? There's a show in a few days in Columbus, Ohio, I believe. And it's Quiet Riot, Ace Frehley, and Slaughter. I don't think that's going to happen. There's just too much going on, but always fun. And it's unfortunate, but when you want to go see an old kind of legacy hard rock band like that, if you're like me, like you go to YouTube and you try to find a recent performance and see how well the singer's performing. Because I get it. Like I'm all for, trying to make the best with what you have. Your voice is going to deteriorate as you get older. Some manage it better than others, and some manage it so poorly it's just not enjoyable. Like as much as I revere Bon Jovi and was fortunate enough to see them a couple of times more in their prime, I wouldn't pay to see them now if they toured again, just because I know it would be bad. And then, some of these bands like Quiet Riot, like it's a different singer, right? And then you just have to make a personal decision whether you can kind of suspend disbelief and enjoy the material with a new singer or not. Some people are really against that. Like one of my biggest online pet peeves is anytime someone posts a video, you see this a lot on TikTok, but you'll see it on Twitter and other social media too. Someone will post a portion of a song or a piece of live performance from a band that doesn't have their original singer, right? Great example. This is Journey. And it doesn't matter what the context is of the post. Just like, here's a few seconds from their performance last night in El Segundo, right? Or whatever. And somebody pops into the comments with, it's not Journey without Steve Perry. It's not Journey without Steve Perry. It's not Foreigner without Lou Gramm. It's not Quiet Riot without Kevin Dubrow. Hate that attitude. Absolutely hate it. I understand that it's not the same. No one loves Steve Perry more than me. When he passes away someday, I'm going to have to take days off from work and go to Aaron Rodgers' like dirt cave or whatever and just shut myself out for a few days and cry. But I've seen Journey like 5 or 6 times without him. Do you expect the band to stop playing because their singer doesn't want to sing with them anymore? Like, he didn't start the band. Neil Schon did. Same thing with, I've seen Foreigner with Kelly Hansen. He was great, and it was an enjoyable show. The band shouldn't have to retire because Lou Gramm didn't want to be in it anymore. And then you look at like, Arnel Pineda has been in Journey longer than Steve Perry ever was, right? And they continue to sell out stadiums. So just a little pet peeve there. God, is F1 on Apple TV already? I know it was produced by Apple. In fact, I think they said it was their biggest opening, or it's their biggest grossing feature film since they started getting into feature films. I don't know about you guys. Apple's the best streamer out there right now. The quality of the shows that they're producing on Apple TV, I think, is so far above and beyond what any of the other streamers are doing. Like Ted Lasso. Like just recently, it's gotten to the point where when one series ends, it'll just automatically like suggest and just start playing another series for it, and we'll just keep watching it. like Your Friends and Neighbors with John Hamm was great. Stick with Owen Wilson right now. If you guys are golf fans, if you're not watching that, outstanding. Mark Maron is his buddy in that, where he's kind of mentoring sort of the Bull Durham kind of storyline there too, but really well done. Apple's just killing it, and there's shows I haven't even gotten a chance to see on Apple yet, just because I don't have the time to commit to it. Like I've always wanted to see the morning show. They're just killing it. They're just knocking it out of the park. I got a little Samurai mentioning Alice in Chains here. Yeah, new Alice in Chains frontman is uncanny, so great. Got to see them first Seattle show back at the Paramount. Also halftime in a Seahawks game. He kills it. Oh, can I find this picture to share with you guys? Let's see how good the search feature is in my pictures. Was it called T-Mobile Park back then? Search by location. All right, I'm going to try to keep talking while I'm searching for this. So a few years ago, went to see a Mariner game, and it was Alice in Chains night. And they had just released a new record with the new singer, and they wanted to promote it. And so they did this big, here's some cool stuff. This will be fun to share too. They did this big promotion at the Mariner game where they made an appearance, and they sold tickets to a special section, and you got a special shirt. I wish I still had it. It was a black Alice in Chains t-shirt with the Mariner logo and like a number on the back. And then they came out and they signed some CDs, and we got a free copy of their CD. And then during the game, at one point, they did some trivia on the Jumbotron out in the outfield. And we happened to be sitting on the aisle. I was sitting directly on the aisle. Someone came up and tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, do you want to do this thing for us?" God dang it. Now I can't find these damn pictures. Anyway, I said, "Sure. What is it?" "Well, we're going to do some Alice in Chains trivia in between innings." And here we go. And, okay, good. You guys will enjoy this then. "And do you want to do it?" I said, "Yeah." "So, okay, we'll come get you in the next inning. There's a prize." So they grabbed me, and then sure enough, like the questions were such, they were just such softballs. And the main question was, it was based off wordplay. And so the answer was like, it was either like Alice in Wonderland, or it was something else Alice, or it was Alice in Chains. I was like, well, yeah, Alice in Chains. All right, so here it is. And I got it right. And so I got so I'm standing there, and I just answered it correctly. And, okay, why is this not showing up? Of course I make, oh, there it is. Okay. So here it is. Come on. There we go. Let me pull this out of the way. They just showed up behind me. They're like, here's and they gave me like a poster and 2 tickets to the show at the White River Amphitheater that weekend. And then these guys just showed up behind me. So the guy with his arm around me, you can see right behind me with the afro, that's the new singer they're talking about. But that guy sticking his tongue out right there, that's Jerry Cantrell. Pretty freaking cool, right? And you can see I'm holding a baseball. So that is signed by them. And I have it. It was on my background, my physical background in Seattle. It's in storage right now, but it's something I still have. You can see the shirt I'm wearing. Again, wish I would have saved that. But yeah, that was cool. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't begrudge these bands from carrying on without original members. First of all, it's the music that's the legacy. It's the catalog. And if those songs bring you joy, and the original singer either he isn't alive, doesn't want to sing them anymore, or the band doesn't want him in the band anymore because he's a douchebag or whatever, they shouldn't have to stop what they're doing. We want to see them. We want to see them. We want to hear the music, right? Whoa. You have an Eddie Vedder guitar that you toss on the stage. That's pretty awesome. I have done, one of my biggest failings in life is I've just done a shit job of keeping stuff. I moved around a lot in my lifetime. Some of it's not my fault. Some other people in my life not taking care of my things as well as they should. But like old LPs, baseball cards, memorabilia, old autographed personalized autograph pictures of football players and things like that with special messages written for me. Things I've gotten at concerts, guitar picks that I've caught, things from meet and greets, drumsticks, broken drumsticks thrown into the crowd, stuff like that, that I just have lost along the way. I don't have my letter jacket from high school that has like national championship patch and all my sports letters and stuff on it. Because Tim Rosenbaugh somehow, second mention for him today, ended up in his stuff, and it ended up going back home to Gig Harbor at his mom's house, and I never got a hold of her or whatever. My high school yearbook, no idea where it is. So all those personalized things that people write, artist friend of mine drawing pictures in there, stuff like that, gone. I wish I'd, as much as in the later part of my life, I've learned to let go of things and live more minimalistically. And there's a lot of peace in that. There's a lot of stuff that I wish I still had. More Alice in Chains, love, good stuff. Good stuff, you guys. All right. I think I touched on everything that I promised, right? So yeah, I've got some cool shows planned. I think I have some compelling enough ideas to get us through for the next week and a half or so. Obviously, if there's any breaking news, any roster changes or anything like that, I'll react to that. But again, there was one thing that I wanted to share with you. Warren Sharp has just put out his preview for the next football season. Sharp Football does such a tremendous job with analytics and predictive analytics. And so they're sending me an advanced copy of the book. And once I've had a chance to read it, he's going to come on the show. So we'll get Warren on the show before training camp starts, get his thoughts on the Seahawks and what he expects for the NFC West and the NFC Conference this year. So that'll be fun. Along the same vein, Michael Sean Dugar is putting his first book out next month. He's promised me an advanced copy, after which he'll come on and we'll talk about that as well. And then I don't know if you guys saw it, but when I posted the All Dan team the other day, I tagged Paul Moyer, gave him a little shout out, be like, hey, you made the squad. And he must have watched the video because I mentioned in there that Dave Wyman is one of my favorite players. He's on the linebacker list. And kind of made a snide comment and was just ribbing him a little bit that like he's been invited to come on the show. Paul even put us in touch through email, and I haven't heard back from him. So Paul answered me yesterday on Twitter and said, hey, we'll get Dave on your show. He's just a little bit technologically and text challenged. So you have that to look forward to as well. Again, 16th, I'll be headed back to Seattle. So there'll be a little bit of gap in coverage at some point next week, but I will try to stack some shows and provide some content during that week. And then, man, you guys, training camp, it's almost here. I can't wait. And I've teased this before, but this year I'm going to do it, especially given the fact that I get to actually cover training camp again, which makes it full circle 30 years after the fact since the last time I officially got to cover a Seahawks training camp as a reporter. I think I did 3 years in a row of that back when they were at the old Northwest Bible College in Kirkland. Tell you a story about interviewing Dave Craig and how it was almost one of my most embarrassing moments ever. And a very, very strange occurrence that is completely self-imposed. Like I caused it. No one else to blame. He never knew. Love to get him on the show someday and get his thoughts on it. But I'm going to tell that story this year before we start training camp. Also have some really cool things planned with other creators, some of your other favorite Seahawk channels, talking about getting together and doing stuff, as many of them are planning on coming down for training camp for a couple of days. So I'll even tease it a little bit. We're even talking about trying to organize a big live streamed crossover training camp preview of some kind. So just stuff to keep in mind. Hey, thanks, Dogzilla. Always great to have you. You're a really loyal supporter. I appreciate that a great deal. Thank you very much. And if you do want to support to my endeavor, help support the channel, help support my trip home, everything else, given the news that I received today, all the ways that you can do that, you can find all that down below. And check out the merch store too. I'll be creating some special spring training camp stuff. And also for you Patreon members, some Patreon specific stuff as well. But there's some cool merch over there. So check that out, if you will. Until then, forever and always, go Hawks. Thanks for watching, you guys. We'll see you soon.